Hey, welcome. Today we're digging into a really cool idea, thinking about residential solar not just as a green choice, but as your own personal fortress of energy. So let's jump right in. So let me just ask you this right off the bat. If the power grid in your neighborhood went down, not for an hour, but for days, how would your home hold up? It's something we don't really think about until, we have to. 7. That number? That's how many days a lot of folks in the New Orleans area were completely without power after Hurricane Ida hit the Gulf Coast. A full week. I mean, that one event really just throws a spotlight on how fragile our modern lives are when a blackout hits. And that experience, it really gets to the heart of what we're talking about today. The blackout problem. It's a huge concern, especially if you live in a storm-prone area where the power grid gets pushed to its limits year after year. Because what a storm like that really shows us is just how fragile our centralized electric grid is. When those main lines go down, everybody is left in the dark. And that's pushed a lot of people to start looking for personal energy resilience, a way to keep the lights on completely separate from the utility company. So, what's the answer? Well, that's where this idea of a personal power plant comes into play. We're talking about putting solar panels on your roof and basically transforming your home into its own source of energy security. And check out this quote from the research we're looking at. It just frames it perfectly. It's not just about protecting the environment, but also our economic system, our way of life. It's this double promise of being sustainable and stable. And this is really the key shift in thinking for today. We have to move beyond the idea that solar is just about lowering your carbon footprint. It's about something way more practical, way more tangible. It's about security. It's about having power when nobody else does. All right, so let's get into the good stuff, the solar payoff. Because beyond just having that security blanket, there are some very real financial perks that make this a seriously compelling option. Okay, first, there's a term you gotta know. It's called net metering. All it means, really, is that it's a system where the power company actually pays you for the extra electricity your solar panels make and send back to the grid. And here's what that looks like in the real world. During the middle of the day, right, the sun's high, you might be out at work, your panels are just cranking out a ton of power, way more than your house is actually using. And that extra power, it doesn't just disappear. Your roof literally becomes a mini power plant. It powers your own home first, of course, but then it sells all that excess energy to your neighbors through the grid, and you earn credits on your utility bill. It's pretty amazing. And you can even get smart about it. A home energy management system can actually store that extra power in a battery, wait, and then sell it back to the grid during those peak evening hours when electricity prices are highest. You're basically playing the energy market right from your own house. And the financial perks don't even stop there. Get this, the research shows that having a solar system already installed can tack on a premium of nearly $15,000 to your home's property value. That's a serious boost to your investment. But of course, it's not all sunshine and savings. We've got to be honest here. To get the full picture, we have to do a little reality check and look at the very real roadblocks that can get in the way. And this, right here, this is the heart of the problem. Isn't it? You've got this incredible promise of energy independence on one side, and on the other, you've got the price tag. A pretty hefty upfront cost, anywhere from $10,000 to $40,000. And for a lot of people, that's the biggest hurdle right there. Now, federal tax deductions have definitely helped soften that blow, letting you get back maybe 20 to 30% of the cost. But, and this is important, the research points out that these big incentives are slowly being phased out. So that makes the financial math even more critical. And on top of the cost, you've got this whole list of other potential headaches. You might have to deal with complex local permits that take months, or maybe you run into super restrictive HOA rules. And then there's just the basic fact that solar power is intermittent. You still need that grid connection for cloudy days and, at night. So with all these pros and cons laid out on the table, what's the final verdict from the research? Where do we land? Well, the conclusion is actually pretty clear. If, and it's a big if you can manage that initial financial hit, the long-term benefits are just undeniably compelling. We're talking about everything from resilience during a blackout to real, consistent savings on your bills. And let's bring this all the way back to where we started. For anyone living in a hurricane-prone area like the Gulf Coast, a solar backup system stops being just a nice-to-have. It becomes a crucial tool for resilience, for literally weathering the storm and keeping your family safe. Which kind of leaves us with one last question. When you weigh the promise of security against the reality of that price tag, you've got to ask yourself, is this kind of energy independence worth the investment for you and for your home?